Hey guys, what's going on? It's Hopeless Hallow here, coming at you with another video. Today we'll be going over 0 to 10 monsters. Challenge rating wise, that is. I'll be going all the way from challenge rating 0 to challenge rating 10, and I've used the D&D Beyond Encounter Maker to store which ones I have, and because it can easily open up the stat block as long as you have access to it. Which also brings me to another point. I'll only be going over basic rules monsters, as to basically have monsters for everyone to access. But yeah, anyways, we'll be going through challenge rating 0 through 10. So let's begin. Our first creature here is the Awakened Shrub. Perfect for an ambush because the adventurers are slowly going through the forest, and then boom! Suddenly the shrubbery starts attacking them. But of course, being a challenge rating 0, it really doesn't do all that much damage. It does have resistance to piercing, though. That could be annoying for certain weapons, although uh, some a character with burning hands could really just take down a whole shrubbery. But yeah, good for an ambush. I recommend pairing it up with something slightly stronger. It's just an extra added element of surprise. Maybe put a surprise round in. Maybe that's what really can get the Awakened Shrub some damage. Next one up, if you've seen my last video, the Frog. You'll know that the reason I chose this one is because it is the only challenge rating 0 creature in the entire basic rules log that does 0 damage. It cannot do damage. It's quite incredible. And you should check out my last video where I go over how many frogs it would take to be a level 20 character. Technically, it would take infinite because, well, they can't do any damage. But because it's still a monster, D&D Beyond still thinks that it can beat them with enough. So, that's a bit weird. But anyways, after you go check that out, come back here, and so you can see the next one, the Cultist. Cultists are just good all around, kind of basic, kind of generic, I know, but they've always had this cool ability that I've always liked, Dark Devotion, where it has advantage on saving throws against being charmed and frightened. It's not huge, it's just nice. It really helps out with the bard who just tries to persuasion and everything, and when they fail, just cast charm spells. The frighten isn't so great unless you you just get a whole bunch of them to help you fight a dragon or something, but it's there. It's helpful. They do some damage. This could really wreck some level 1s, maybe some level 2s. Next one up, the ever so faithful kobolds. Let's see. They've got low HP, low armor class. Their stats are something to be desired. They've got dark vision, which is nice. Their language is common, draconic. Sunlight sensitivity on top of that. But pack tactics, daggers, and slings, though. So they've got range to melee and pack tactics. So you just simply get 1 or 2 kobolds up in the front, and then all of the slings that kobolds can fire at you all have advantage. It's insane what just like 6 kobolds could do to a small party. But kobolds just get better and better the more that there is. Next one up, the wolf. They have keen hearing and smell. Pack tactics. Pack tactics is so good early on, and even good later on too. Just you don't find them as commonly as you do now in the lower levels, but it is such a great ability. They have a bite, which is a low DC, but it is a strength saving throw or be knocked prone, which gives advantage on all of the on all attack rolls within 5 feet of the creature. It also has they also have disadvantage on attack rolls, and they have to use half their movement to get up just to end the condition. It also does 7 damage, and plus for a hit is something to be desired though. But it's got stealth and perception as well, so wolves are nice hunters. I've also put Sprite on this list. They have short bow, long sword. They're tiny. They've got a decent armor class. Their HP is terrible though. They have a good flying speed. amazing stealth, a decent perception, and can turn invisible and have the heart sight ability, which basically is a low DC, but it's a charisma saving throw. And it knows the alignments, and Celestials, Fiends, and Undeads automatically fail the saving throw, which could be incredible in the right situations. But next one up, Rust Monster for the half challenge rating. Honestly, I was surprised to see it so low down, but honestly, it has 14 armor class, 27 HP, can move 40 feet a turn. Its only negative is into intelligence and charisma. It can pinpoint any location of ferrous metal within 30 feet of it. Has dark vision 60 feet. It can rust armor and weapons using its antenna or just whatever attacks it. And it has +3 to hit 5 damage. Its damage definitely isn't the best, but ooh, it just hurts if someone just bought their new fancy chainmail or plate mail, and a Rust Monster just comes on in. Oh, that player would be annoyed. Next one up under the same challenge rating is the Shadow. Say hello to a +4 stealth, resistances to lightning, thunder, cold, fire, acid, piercing, slashing, and bludgeoning from non-magical attacks, and immunity to poison and necrotic. Sign me up. This thing has practically double the HP than what it says. It also has a speed of 40 feet, 16 HP, 12 armor class, and some more immunities to conditions like exhaustion, frightened, grappled, paralyzed, petrified, poisoned, prone, and restrained. Also, it has dark vision because it's a literal shadow. Because it's a literal shadow, it can move through tight spaces. It could take hide and just dim light instead of just darkness. As a bonus action too, like wow. Let's see. But while in the sunlight, it has disadvantage on attack rolls, ability checks, and saving throws. But keep in mind that's sunlight, not just light. Sunlight. So someone can't just hold up a torch and weaken it. Of course, someone casts the daylight spell. That's a different story. But another amazing part about it is strength drain. Only a +4 to hit, but it does on average 9 necrotic damage of all things. And the strength score is reduced by 1d4, and the target dies if it's reduced to 0. So some shadows sneak up behind the party where the wizards are and just gang up. Boom! Their strength is sapped and they die. And if a non-evil humanoid dies, like say your wizard buddy, they rise as a shadow 1d4 hours later. This thing is incredible if used correctly at lower levels. Alright, now we start moving on to the actual challenge ratings. Challenge rating 1. This is where I put the Brass Dragon Wormling. Now, dragons can be a bit overrated, I know. But just having your players take down a young one at such a low level can honestly just be nice. Just a little gift to your players. It's got some decent armor class, but not much HP though. It's got a burrow speed and a flying speed, so watch out for that. Also, it has some bonuses to some saving throws, but it's nothing amazing and nothing the players can't handle. Just add a bit more of artificial difficulty. It also has a bit to stealth and a bit to perception, immunity to fire, which is a common damage type. It has blind sight for 10 feet, which isn't amazing, but it can stop those rogues who are going in for melee sneak attacks. It's dark vision 60 feet. It can speak draconic only. It has a bite attack, a breath weapon that recharges on a 5 or 6. The breath weapon is a DC 11 dexterity saving throw. That's not a huge one, so a good chunk of them might succeed it. And that's an average of 14 damage, or 7 to most people, since it's such a low one. But it also has sleep breath. A constitution saving throw, a lot of melee people take some cons, so it might be hard. But if they can fly over them and get to the ones without so much constitution, it knocks them out for 1 minute. So, and it has to use an action to wake them up. It's still a low saving throw though, so someone can get around that. Another one, animated armor. Ooh, this is one of my favorite monsters. Multi-attack slam. It's one of the first ones on this. It's the first one on this list that has multi-attack. They're only +4 to hit, but they each do an average of 5 damage. They also have a false appearance, anti-magic susceptibility. Wow, I cannot pronounce that. Is quite brutal to animated armor. Just falling unconscious for 1 minute can just ruin it. But it's a challenge rating 1, meaning you can send this at your players way before they get those kind of spells. It has it's a good chunk of hit points, 33. Only a speed of 25 feet though, so the non-shorter races can outspeed it. But it's got 18 armor class. Now, if you compare this to normal armor, that would be plate. And I made the mistake of giving of them trying to loot the corpses and giving them plate. Never do that. Never, unless you're sending a swarm at them. Say they're a bit damaged already, and they're already higher level. What I like to do is I like to say that because it's magical, it's similar to a Shield of Faith, and it's natural. It's only 16. But if you dispel it with magic, then, well, it falls unconscious for a minute, too. So this gives you a much bigger variety of armors you can give them. And so your players aren't rich by killing one monster, even if they did damage it. Next one up, another personal favorite, the Inkig. This is an incredible beast. It has a small burrow speed, a nice hardy chunk of hit points, an okay armor class. That's a nice strength modifier though, and but where it really lies is its ability, its attacks. Acid spray. Now, Inkigs are known for just their pure acid damage, but they what a lot of people forget, but is also known, is that they have a 10 feet burrow speed. They probably would only use it for if they think they could stealth around, or just to make their homes underground, and not really for a means of transport. I imagine it's quite tiring to keep burrowing. But if your players foolishly decide to go into an Inkig's home rather than luring it out, well then you can imagine that the Inkig's home is just a bunch of tunnels. Tunnels are a straight line, and well, its acid spray, which is a line attack, can hit a lot of people. Let's see. And that's a dexterity 13 saving throw. It's not amazing, but a tight space, the frontline fighters might not be able to dodge. And sure, it's a recharge 6, but it does 10 damage, and just can hit a lot of people. And you're probably thinking, wow, that's probably its strongest attack, right? No, its a bite is even worse than its bark. It has a +5 to hit, does an average of 10 damage. Well, isn't that just the same as the acid? No, because it does a another 3 average of acid damage. Also, if the target's larger or smaller, it grapples them. And it just straight up grapples them. There's no saving throw. You have to do a check during your turn. Let's see. But the Inkig can only bite the grappled creature, which at first might seem, oh, it can't target multiple people. Thank God. But then you're also thinking, oh wait, it's targeting the same person over and over with its most powerful attack that doesn't need to recharge. Oh no, they might die here. So yeah. Next one up on this list is Ghast. Ghast isn't actually too particularly powerful. It has a horrible saving throw for its stench, and if they succeed, they're immune for 24 hours. Their damage is pretty good, but with only a +3 to hit, they don't hit often. And claws, yeah, sure, paralyzed for a minute, but they can repeat the saving throw, and it's only a DC 10 con saving throw, and it's even less damage. Its only benefit is it's easier to hit. Where it really shines is the Turning Defiance. If they, it just all ghouls and other ghasts just have advantage against the saving throws against turned undead. If you tell your players that a horde of undead's coming, and there's a cleric that still has its channel divinity, they're gonna be nice and fine, unless there's a ghast. In which case, they might not realize that, and boom! Suddenly, their turn undead only turns 2 or 3, rather than half the horde. So ghasts are a good support, really, with paralysis and such. Ghoul was going to be on this list, but animated armor and the dragon just had to come first. Another one on the challenge rating 2 is Gargoyle. We've all heard of the Gargoyle. It just, when it's emotionless, it's just undistinguishable from an inanimate statue. It has multi-attack, though, with its fighting claws. It has resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks that aren't adamantite. That's important because the weapons can be silvered, which can sometimes be in the resistances. But adamantite is different, and it's much more expensive. But then again, if they are adamantite, it would take normal damage, and adamantite always crits. So, yeah. But it does have a nice chunky 52 HP, and a nice 15 armor class. It has immunity to poison, exhaustion, petrified, and poisoned. Let's see. And the final one on the challenge rating 2, Gelatinous Cube. This is just great. It's immune to being blinded, charmed, deafened, exhausted, frightened, and prone. Has a blind sight of 60 feet, but blind beyond the radius. It's a bit slow, but it's got an incredible 84 HP, which kind of makes up for the fact that it only has a 6 armor class. Its con modifier is huge, a +5. It's not going to be failing any con saves for a while. Because it's a cube, a rather large one in fact, it takes up the entire space. Other creatures get into the space, but then they're engulfed by it and have disadvantage on the saving throw. Creatures that in it can be seen but have total cover. That's amazing. Like, think about it. If a creature, some spells only require sight. So you could just be in a gelatinous cube, cast your spells, and just be completely untouchable. The gelatinous cube with its 84 HP just tanks it for you. But of course, these guys are way too dumb to just team up with somebody. You'd probably have to trick it into helping you. But anyways, any creature, how do you escape this engulf? Any creature within 5 feet could take an action to pull the creature out. It requires a DC 12 strength check. And the creature making the attempt takes acid damage, 10 on average. Ooh, that hurts. The cube can only hold one large creature up to 4 medium or smaller at the same time. Wow. 4 medium. That sounds like it could take up the entire average, of an average party. That's scary. It's also transparent. While it's in plain sight, they have to make a perception check to even spot it, as long as it hasn't moved or attacked. And anyone who tries to enter without while being unaware of it is surprised. Ooh, that's always just... surprise is just brutal, especially with a monster like this. Its attack is a pseudopod, which does the same amount of damage as trying to pull it out, on average of 10, with only a +4 to hit, though. At this point, their armor class increased by 1 or 2, so it's not as great. But here's the also legendary Engulf. Now you're probably thinking, oh, it has 15 speed. I'll just outwalk it. But when it uses Engulf, it moves up to its speed, and when it does so, it can enter larger or smaller creature spaces. And when it enters the space, they must make a dexterity saving throw. On a successful save, they can either be pushed back or to the side of a cube. A creature that chooses not to be pushed suffers the effect of a failed saving throw. And on a fail, The cube enters the creature's space, and the creature takes 10 acid damage and is engulfed. Engulfed creatures can't breathe, are restrained, take 21 acid damage at the start of each of the cube's turns. And when the cube moves, the engulfed creature moves with it. Whoa! 21 average? That's 66. That's a 36 maximum. God, that's insane. An engulfed creature can try to escape using its action to make a DC 12 strength check. On a success, the creature escapes and enters a space of a choice within 5 feet of the cube. Now, that's not a huge saving throw, but it uses its action. Meaning you can't. Meaning you get out. You can't use your action to pull somebody else out. And then when it comes to their turn, 21 acid damage. God, this is insane. Anyways, next up is the challenge rating 3s. Here we have the Basilisk. Now, full disclosure. Although this is challenge rating 3, you should really only use it against challenge. Wow, I cannot speak. People with 7th level characters because of its one legendary like ability, the Petrifying Gaze. It's only a DC 12 con saving throw, but they slowly begin to turn to stone and is restrained if they fail. And if they get another failure, they're just petrified. It's over. Unless you guys are level 7 or have access to a greater restoration, they're just dead. It's over. Consider them done. And with challenge rating 3, that leads you to believe that it's a decent challenge for 3rd level characters, not the 7th level it requires for a caster to get greater restoration. This could just kill someone. You just get 2 unlucky con saving throws, and you're done for. It's just done. A creature that's surprised can avert its eyes to avoid the saving throw at the start of its turn. If it does so, it can't see the Basilisk, which is a requirement for a good chunk of spells, until the start of its next turn, when it has to avert its eyes again. But if it does look at it, it must immediately make the save. But if it does see its own reflection in bright light, it mistakes itself for a rival and targets itself with its gaze. Oh, that's hilarious. Honestly. It does have a +2 to the con, so it's really a 50-50 for both of them, but still, that's just incredible. It's hilarious. But anyways, its bite, it does 10 damage and 7 poison damage. We're at challenge rating 3, so that isn't huge, but just add that on to the petrifying and it also has 52 HP and 15 armor class. It's really the only real good thing about it is that you can outrun it, and you don't need to see it to outrun it. So yeah, another great challenge rating 3, the Water Weird. Well then, I'm just going to talk about this one, but apparently I accidentally put a Monster Manual creature on here. Well, anyway, a Water Weird is basically your first elemental that just doesn't look like an imp. It's invisible underwater. That's all I have to say. That's all you need to know. Just have it. It also grapples on attack mode. On an attack. Just hits. Grapple. Just drags you underneath the water. You drown. That's it. Next one up, our first Celestial. Challenge rating 4. It's got a lengthy stat block because it can cast some spells at will. 3 a day of Bless, Create Food and Water, Cure Wounds, Lesser Restoration, Protection from Poison, Sanctuary, Shield. It can also cast Dream, Greater Restoration. And Scrying. And that's once a day each. That's not like one spell slot. That's a lot of spells that you can cast. Wow. Let's see. It's immune to scrying and any effect that it senses its emotions, read its thoughts, or detect location. That's actually kind of bad, assuming if it's an ally. If it's trying to be hunted, then oh yeah, that's great. But somehow get one of these guys as an ally. Whoo, whoo, whoo. Having a greater restoration's amazing. But anyways, it also has constrict. Does some damage. Grappled. It also has a bite. 8 damage plus 8 to hit. Wow. DC 13 con saving throw will be poisoned for an incredible 24 hours. And they're unconscious. Another creature can use the action to shake the target awake, but it's still poisoned for 24 hours. There's no extra saving throws after that. That's just incredible. Also, change shape. It can turn into a humanoid or beast that has a challenge rating equal to less to it than its own. It reverts to its true form if it dies. Any equipment it's wearing and carrying is absorbed by the new form, yada yada. Let's see. It changes its stats and stuff. You can't keep class features like legendary, yada yada. Just some rules for the shape changing. It has a 19 armor class and 97 HP. Ooh! Flying speed of 90. That's great stats. There's not a single negative. There's nothing below a +3. It has an extra bonus to con, wisdom, and charisma saving throws. It's resistant to radiant, so really only your paladin smites are gonna really suffer here. Let's see. It's immune to psychic, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks. Oh. So, our fighter and barbarians are just worthless here. Also, true sight of 120 feet. And all languages. All languages. With a telepathy up to 120 feet. Wow. Just wow. Next one up we have here. The Fool. The Fool. Whatever. This thing can sense magic within 120 feet of it. Like if it casts detect magic, it can breathe air and water. Can't speak, but it's immune to being poisoned and poison damage. Decent perception. A great strength con score. Bad intelligence and charisma, but that's to be expected. It has multi-attack, 2 pincer attacks. And if it's grappling a creature, it can use its tentacles once. Its pincers does 11 damage, plus 6 to hit, grapples them, DC 14, if they're large or smaller. And if it doesn't have 2 other creatures grappled, which means it can grapple 2 creatures. Let's see. And its tentacles. Con saving throw be poisoned for a minute, and they're paralyzed. But they can repeat the saving throw. So they'll break free from it, but still. That can be brutal because paralyzation makes critical hits within 5 feet. So those pincers are going to do some mad damage. A ghost. This is not one to underestimate. It has a low armor class and low HP for its challenge rating. Flying speed of 40 feet, so you wouldn't really expect it to be too good, and mediocre stats at best. It has resistance to lightning, thunder, fire, acid, bludgeoning, piercing, slashing from non-magical attacks, immunities to poison, cold, necrotic, condition immunities to charmed, exhaustion, frightened, grappled, petrified, paralyzed, poisoned, prone, and restrained, along with dark vision 60 feet. It can see in the ethereal plane. It can move through objects as long as it doesn't stay in them and take damage. It has withering touch for an average of 17 damage, but only a +5 to hit. It can enter the ethereal plane. And vice versa. A horrifying visage, though. Undead, non-undead creatures within 60 feet must succeed on DC 13 wisdom saving throw, which isn't a huge saving throw, but they'll be frightened for 1 minute, and if they fail by 5 or more, they age anywhere from 10 to 40 years. I highly doubt that'll kill any of the people there because of elves and stuff, but there's a human in the party? Human fighter who's already of an older age? Wow. Sounds like you might be dead. They can repeat their saving throw at the end of each of their turns and in the fighting condition on a success. Let's see. And if they succeed, they're immune to this for the next 24 hours. The effects can be reversed with a greater restoration. Wow. And remember how I said earlier, the 7th level? Yeah, actually, scratch that. I thought it was a 4th level spell. Looking at it now, it's a 5th level. That means 9th level. That's when you need to get it. Wow. And it needs to happen within 24 hours of it occurring? Yeah. You're not getting that back unless you're already 9th level. You can also possess people. DC 13 Charisma saving throw. The ghost disappears because it's in the body. The target's now incapacitated and lose control of the body. It now controls the body, but it doesn't deprive them of awareness too. The ghost can't be targeted by any attack, spell, or other effects except ones that turn undead, and retains its alignment. It also retains its intelligence, wisdom, charisma, and immunity to being charmed and frightened. Otherwise uses the possessed target statistics, doesn't gain access to knowledge, features, or proficiencies. The possession lasts until the body hits 0 HP. The ghost ends it as a bonus action, or the ghost is forced out with something like Dispel Good and Evil. Possession ends, the ghost reappears within 5 feet, and the target's immune for 24 hours after succeeding the saving throw, or after the possession ends. Next one up is 5, the Wraith. It can create specters from dead corpses. +6 to hit for average of 21 damage, but it is challenge rating 5 at this point. DC con saving throw of DC 14, or its hit points maximum is reduced by the damage taken. Ooh! It does fix on a long rest, though. They die if it reaches 0, of course, though. Well, in Sunlight has disadvantage of attack rolls and wisdom perception checks. Or rely on sight, at least. It can move through other creatures as if they were difficult terrain, and objects, of course. It has resistances to lightning, thunder, cold, fire, acid, bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, and from non-natural attacks that aren't silvered. It has immunity to poison, necrotic, charmed, exhausted, grappled, paralyzed, petrified, poison, prone, restrained, dark vision out to 60 feet. Has not great HP and AC, but a flying speed, so that helps from the melee people. Also on this list of challenge rating 5s, the Zorn. It's got some stealth, perception. It can hide in stone, sense any treasure, and glide through the earth. Has a burrow speed, a nice chunky HP, and a nice AC. As multi-attack, it can make 3 claw attacks and 1 bite attack, with all +6s. Thankfully, it has lower damage to offset that. Level 6, a Wyvern. Why not? You've heard of it before. It's not your typical dragon, but it's still a dragon. It has a stinger, which can poison them for quite a bit of damage. It has claws. It can bite. It has multi-attack, of course. 1 bite, 1 with its stinger. And it can, while it's flying, it can use its claws instead of 1 of them. Has a great strength and con. It's got nice HP. A decent, an armor class. And a nice flying speed. Just your typical dragon. A Vrock. You've probably heard of this before, but never actually fought one. Well, it has an AC of 15, 104 HP, a nice flying speed, decent walking speed, has some good saving throws and some good stats. Resistances to lightning, cold, fire, bludgeoning, piercing, slashing from non-natural attacks. Immunity to poison, both the condition and damage. Dark vision, 120 feet. And it has abyssal and telepathy for 120 feet. It also has magical resistance, multi-attack, 1 beak, 1 talons. It can shoot spores. Toxic spores. DC of 14 con saving throw being poisoned. It takes 5 damage at the start of each of its turns, and a target can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending its effect on a success. And you have to empty an entire vial of holy water as another way to do it. It also has Stunning Screech. Every creature within 20 feet must make a con DC 14 saving throw or be stunned until the end of the rock's next turn. Here's an annoying challenge rating 6. It's It's annoying just for this one reason. Invisibility. The Stalker's invisible. Unless they have something like Fairy Fire. Invisibility just can kill a person. Not directly, of course, but just never being able to hit them and have disadvantage even if you do target the right space. But it's given a core by its summoner if it's summoned. The Stalker knows the direction and distance to its core as long as the two of them are on the same place of existence. The Stalker also knows the location of its summoner. Wow. That just... It just hunts you down. And it also has multi-attack slam. It also has... I'm sorry, is that a plus 10 stealth, plus 8 perception? Amazing stats across the board. Immunity to poison, bludgeoning... immunity to poison, resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks. And is immune to exhaustion, grappled, paralyzed, petrified, prone, poisoned, restrained, and unconsciousness. Oh god! Good luck reasoning with it. It doesn't speak. Well, at least common, and I highly doubt any of them have Arn. Next up is the Oni. You probably heard about this if you're a weeb, but for those of you who haven't, they've got 16 AC, 110 HP. They can fly. They have good stats, and some great saving throws. Some good skills, dark vision. They can cast darkness and invisibility at will, along with Charm Person, Cone of Cold, Gaseous Forms, and Sleep once a day each. They're magical weapons, and it has regeneration, as long as it still has 1 HP. It has multi-attack with 2 with its claws or 2 with its glaive. Oh, wow. And it can change shape into small, medium humanoids or a large giant, or back into its true form, which is a large giant. Other than its size, the statistics are the same in each form. The only equipment that transforms is the glaive, which shrinks so it can be wielded in a humanoid form. If the Oni dies, it reverts to its true form, and glaive to its true size. Next one up is Shield Guardian. I love this creature. AC of 17, 142 HP, with a 30 feet walking speed. It's got good stats, some negative to Dex, Intelligence, Charisma. It's to be expected by a construct, though. Immunity to poison, your typical immune to charm, exhaustion, frightened, paralyzed, poison, yada yada yada. These community lists are long and long. But let's see, bound. It's magically bound to an amulet. As long as they're on the same place of existence as the amulet's wearer, they can telepathically call the guardian to travel to it. It knows the distance, location, direction, yada yada. And if the guard is within 60 feet of the amulet's wearer, half of any damage the wearer takes is rounded up. It's transferred to the guardian. The guardian also has regeneration and spell storing. They can store 1 spell of 4th level or lower, and they cast it on the guardian. It has no effect, but is stored within the guardian. When commanded to do so, by a predefined condition, the guardian casts its own spell with any parameters set by the original caster, requiring no components. When the spell is cast or a new spell is stored, any previous stored spell is lost. It also has multi-attack for fists, plus 7 to hit, 11 damage, and has a reaction. That's one of the first monsters on this list. Basically, it can add 2 to the amulet wearer's AC, as long as they're within 5 feet. Not a great one, but it's always nice to have something to do. Challenge rating 8, the Tyrannosaurus Rex. What do I need to say? It has a multi-attack bites, which grapples and restrains, and has a tail attack. It's just damage. It's got a plus 10 to hit. Nothing else needs to be said. Also, this category, Hydra. Look at that HP. Look at those multiple heads. Advantage on being blinded, charmed, deafened, frightened, stunned, and unconscious. Wow. If it takes 25 or more damage in a single turn, one of its heads dies. If all heads die, the Hydra dies. At the end of the turn, it grows 2 heads for each of its heads that died, unless it has taken fire damage. And it regains 10 hit points for each head that's grown. So, That basically means that 25 turned into 10 unless it died that turn. Wow. I mean, that 25 actually turned into 5. Wow. I cannot speak. It also has the number of reactions equal to how many heads it has at the moment. While it sleeps, at least one of its heads are awake. So, it's gonna have a hard time catching it by surprise. And it has multi-attack. It can attack a number of times equal to its heads, and well, it has a +8 to hit. Thankfully, it only does 10 damage. But all of those hits, ugh. Next one up is a Treant. Its real problem is that it can make more Treants. XP farm, anyone? It also has multi-attack slam. That's always fun. And it can just hurl giant rocks. It also is indistinguishable from a normal tree. It does decent damage to objects and structures, though. It's got some HP and AC, but it's really not scaling as well. It has a strength of over 20, though. So, damn. It's strong. Also in this category is the Bone Devil. It can fly. Has a nice speed. You can read the resistances and immunities on screen. It also has telepathy, Devil's Sight, magical resistance, 2 with its claws, 1 with its sting for multi-attack. Its sting just does poison damage and con saving throw for more poison. Yeah. Challenge rating 10. We're finally nearing the end. The Diva. It has some spells at will, detect evil and good, and once a day each commune and raise dead. It has magical resistance, angelic weapons that are already included in the attack over here. So, let's see, +8 to hit, but does an average 25 damage total. Wow. Healing Touch, it just regains an average of 20 HP 3 times a day. It's also free of any curse, disease, poison, blindness, or deafness. It can change its shape into a humanoid that has a challenge rating of equal or less than its own, or back into its true form. It reverts to true form if it dies, of course. It's got some great stats. There's nothing under a +3, and that's just an intelligence. The rest are either +4 or +5s. Has a bonus to wisdom and charisma saving throws, similar to a paladin or cleric. Has good insight and perception. Some resistances and immunities, as you can see here. Speaks all languages and has telepathy. Guardian Naga. Look at these spells. True Seeing, Gias, Flame Strike, Banishment, Freedom of Movement, Bestow Curse, Clairvoyance, Calm Emotions, Hold Person, Command, Cure Wounds, Shield of Faith, Mending, Secret Flame, Thaumaturgy. It's like it's actually a caster. Similar to that of, let's see, an 11th or 12th level. It also has Rejuvenation. It returns to life in 1d6 days. And only a wish spell could stop that from happening. All its saving throws are through the roof, as well as its stats are pretty good. It has a 45 poison damage bite, but it has to hit and con saving throw. And it does 8 damage if they do succeed it. It can spit poison. It's basically just a bite attack, except at a range, and doesn't do the initial 8 damage. And that's it. Though these are my top monsters from challenge rating 0 all the way to challenge rating 10. This is quite the long video. So I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't watch the whole thing and just skip to your favorite challenge rating. But I'm glad you did watch this video and that you got to see some cool monsters and different ways to use them. I know that when I just randomly look through the different challenge ratings, I find some cool monsters that I never thought to use or didn't even know existed. So it's always nice to keep reading through them. But anyways, that's bye for now. Bye!